As March gives way to April, another definite indication of spring emerges through the muck. The yearly debate on whether Tottenham Hotspur will finally win a trophy this year. And whether the sole measurement of success for a modern football team is trophies. After losing to AC Milan in the Champions League last month, Tottenham and their supporters are still without a trophy. And a sizable portion of the fan base is starting to grow impatient with it. There is a group of Spurs supporters, and it's not a small group either, for whom the owner's ENIC's failure to win any awards is an egregious mistake. They don't need to turn to anything else because it establishes their entire case against ENIC and Daniel Levy. If you happen to walk past the anti-ENIC demonstration on February 5 before Manchester City's game, one sign hanging from a fence reads simply, "Longest trophy drought in 71 years." Another banner depicts a gravestone with the words Daniel Levy ENIC at the top and one trophy below. It concludes with the phrase "didn't listen to the fans," which is unusual for a gravestone to say as well. The analysis of Levy's choices over the previous few seasons was also peculiar. However, the conclusion is unambiguous. Levy and ENIC should be held accountable for owning and managing Tottenham for more than 20 years while only having one trophy to show for it. This banner and assessment seem unfair to many people, who find it repulsive. However, it is evident that there is a subset of supporters who feel this way about the club's ownership, both in person and online. What you might refer to as the trophy-based criticism of the ENIC years at least has a very basic logic. Because the most straightforward indicator of football success is a trophy. Football competition is structured by competitions. And winning is the object of any contest. We are not conducting this analysis at a high level. Tottenham typically competes in 3 domestic leagues to begin each season, and they frequently travel to Europe. Nevertheless, they have had plenty of opportunities to compete over the past 22 years of ENIC. The one time Spurs' hands actually touched silverware was a magical one. The League Cup was won by Juan Ramos Spurs over Chelsea by a score of 2-1 just over 15 years ago. Tom Huddlestone of the Manchester United under-21s is the only former Spurs player still active. Nothing has happened since then. Spurs have now completed half of the 30-year gap they experienced between winning the FA Cup in 1921 and reaching the First Division in 1951. And it was a very different era. Spurs only participated in the top flight for 2 seasons in the 1930s and for none at all in the 1940s. Of course, due to World War II, there was no league football at all for a period of 6 years. However, the fact that Spurs have not spent the last 15 years sluggishly playing in the second tier is what many fans find so frustrating about this time period. Tottenham is positioned quite near the top of the economic strata during the time we are in. Since 1978, they have competed at the highest level. 16 of the previous 17 seasons have been spent there. Their worst league placing since the 2008 League Cup winning campaign is 8th, in 2008-09. They have now placed in the top 4 7 times in the past 14 years, which used to be the Holy Grail. Numerous teams are barred from contending for the biggest trophies. ENIC's Tottenham, however, shouldn't be one of them. But if you look at the teams that have won championships in the last 15 years, you'll find that many of them are much less prepared to win than Spurs. Birmingham City and Swansea City have each won the League Cup since this particular drought began. While the FA Cup has also been won by Leicester City, Wigan Athletic, and Portsmouth. Leicester naturally also captured the Premier League title in 2015-16. Who wins what is always subject to a certain degree of randomness. The teams with the most trophies, Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester United, clearly have access to much more funding than Tottenham. Furthermore, if you were to defend ENIC, you would highlight the fact that they have maintained competition with those sides for the past 20 years. Despite lacking the benefactors of City or Chelsea or the commercial heft of Manchester United or Liverpool. Spurs, however, have been competent enough to come close to success despite not being sufficiently dominant to ensure success. Close enough for Mauricio Pochettino to start 2 realistic Premier League seasons. To suffer defeat in both the League Cup and Champions League finals while working with the same manager. Under Ryan Mason in 2021, they also lost a League Cup final. Additionally, they lost another game on penalties the year after winning the competition under Harry Redknapp. Additionally, under Redknapp and Pochettino, they each lost 2 FA Cup semi-final matches. It depends on chance in part. So many of these important games come down to minute details. What would have happened if Sadio Mane hadn't placed the ball on Moses Sissoko's extended arm? What would have happened if Michel Vorm had blocked Ander Herrera's game-winning goal at Wembley? What if Tottenham had capitalized on their lopsided victory over Chelsea the year before? What if, in March 2016, Spurs had managed to defeat Arsenal at the old White Hart Lane, clinching their first ever championship, and put pressure back on Leicester City? We could go on all day, but the point is that Spurs have proven to be strong enough to overcome unforeseen circumstances, fleeting moments, and minute contingent details. The 15-year drought has not kept them far away. Although it feels like the wrong word to use, you could say that it boils down to mentality. Why did Pochettino's Tottenham team win more Premier League games than any other manager before or since if they didn't have a winning mentality? Why haven't Spurs won more if Jose Mourinho and Conte have instilled such a winning mentality into the team since their arrival? Perhaps focusing on priorities is the best approach. Since the club's League Cup victory in 2008, it has seemed like getting into the Champions League is the club's top priority. That is why it was crucial when they defeated Manchester City to finish fourth in 2010. And why, when Chelsea won the final in Munich and snatched their spot in the competition, it was such a painful loss to miss out on 2 years later. When Pochettino was manager, he consistently stuck to his guns on this. A justification for why the Premier League and Champions League were more significant than domestic championships. And how his objective was not to win a trophy merely for the sake of it. This frustrates some supporters, including those who still adore Pochettino, who wish he had put more money into the FA Cup and League Cup. This attitude has continued even after Pochettino. In 2021, Mourinho led Spurs to the League Cup final, but Levy fired him the following Monday. For the reason that he believed Mason would increase Spurs' chances of placing fourth. Since then, Mourinho has spoken about how odd he finds it that he was not given the opportunity to lead Spurs out at Wembley. However, with Spurs now a semi-regular participant in the Champions League and the trophy drought still going strong, could the atmosphere be shifting? It will be a success if their incoming manager leads Spurs to fourth place at the end of this campaign. But if he can succeed in winning them something, he will leave a legacy that will set him apart from all of his predecessors. Who do you anticipate Tottenham Hotspur's next manager to be? And will he be able to end their trophy drought?